Hello, hello, and welcome to the channel. This is a new video that I wanted to put out, and I honestly didn't know what topic to discuss, but I think I wanted to talk about something that has been personal to me for many years, and it's been a topic of discussion in my own head for a very long time, and that's the topic of public speaking, and the main reason that I wanted to start a YouTube channel in the first place. So myself, to give a little bit of background as to where I come from and why public speaking is a big deal or a big obstacle in my life that I would like to overcome, and that is and to be able to find my own voice, because it's been a really long journey to do that. I get by. That doesn't mean that I'm the best, but I think that most people do end up just getting by. And why do I just want to end up getting by? That's not my goal. That's not my purpose. That's not why God put me on this earth, right? Just to get by. I think we should use all of the skills and all of the gifts that God has given us, and to be the best possible person that you can be, right? And so, to start from the beginning, I grew up. Well, my parents, they had me. It was an odd relationship. My father had me when he was, and I'll just say this because I think it's probably relevant to the story. My dad had me when he was 46 or 47, and my mom was around 25 or 26. And so right off the beginning, the relationship was a little odd, right? And growing up, my father, he was a very antisocial type of person. He never went to parties. He had, in my eyes, he had very low self-esteem. That's not to say he wasn't capable of doing remarkable things. That's just the way that he viewed himself. And so growing up with a person like this, I think a lot of the worldviews and perspectives that my father had were imprinted onto me. And one of those was a fear of, well, I guess from the way that he educated the way he educated me as growing up, I think that one of the side effects was a fear of speaking out. My father was a very strict person, and coming from, this is where the age gap comes in. He grew up in a very different time, and he didn't grow up in this country. He was born in Mexico in 1951, so that was a very different time than the very different circumstances than the circumstances that we have now. And so he himself, growing up in a dysfunctional household, he did the best he could to try to change the situation for me, his child. But I'm a little sick right now. But even though he put so much effort into changing his style of raising a kid, I don't think it was good, right? It's better than what he grew up with, but there was still a lot lacking. And I say that in the most respectful way possible towards my father. I have no ill feelings towards this guy. But I feel that things could have been a lot better. And one of the side effects of, like I say, one of the side effects of growing up with such a strict parent, and my mom had really no voice in as far as discipline goes. She was very and I also say this in a very respectful way. I don't know how else to say it though. She was very, she went along with everything that my father had put forth as far as discipline and the rules in the house. So my dad really had no opposition as far as how he disciplined the kids. And I think one of the scars from that type of I feel it was a little unfair for the kids, right? Because one of the scars that is pretty evident is the scar of speaking out, and the scar of not being able to speak out when there's something that bothers me, or even just in general, like in my life, I feel that there was a lot of times where I dropped the ball when it comes to conversations or when it comes to human connection. I think that I missed out on many of those opportunities where if I had had a normal childhood upbringing where I was conditioned to socialize in a way where from an early age where I could have had successful conversations, and where I could have made what I wanted to be expressed, to be able to express what I wanted to express, I feel that I would have been able to save myself a lot of heartache and a lot of negative things that have happened. I mean, they're not life. I mean, they could have changed my life, I guess. Who knows what could have happened if I had better social skills when I was younger. Well, and it was, it was many years of not being able to express what I wanted to express, and I just accepted whatever anybody had put onto me. And I feel very angry that was even the case. I feel that my parents did a disservice to my own life, in the way that I didn't express what I truly felt in certain situations growing up. And I think I didn't start becoming aware of that fact until later in my life. Probably not until I got to college is when I or maybe like my senior year of high school, where I started to become aware of things and starting to understand that the way that I was thinking about things, or the way that I was approaching life, wasn't the best approach that I could have had in as far as social interactions go. I didn't have the words in my head to be able to speak the words to be able to speak in the way that I wanted to speak, or to express the emotions in a way that I wanted to express them. And so when I was in college, I wasn't the most awkward kid. I mean, I could say things if things came up, right? I was still able to make friends. I wasn't handicapped in, I guess, terribly. Like, I could still be able to make friends and stuff, but it was a little bit harder because I think I fell into more of that awkward group of people who found it a little harder to make friends, even though I was always able to find a niche that fit my personality and stuff. But and to give a little bit more background, I went into college as an engineering major because I always felt that was what was the best fit for me, and kind of just by saying that, you can kind of tell, engineering people are, a little more awkward than the general population. And I feel that I kind of carried those traits. And I fit into that crowd, right? But I feel like that type of crowd is very limited, very limiting to themselves, because you don't really grow and branch out into the type of person that you really want to be. And I feel like a lot of those people, they end up just becoming bottled. They bottle their emotions, and I don't feel like that's what I want for myself. Why should I bottle my emotions? Why should I keep everything to myself? I feel that there's much more to life than keeping everything to yourself. Contained. Life is so short. Why contain the ideas and the emotions that you have inside yourself? I mean, I don't think that's a way to live. I mean, I know there's some people that really don't give a shit, right? Some people that don't care. But for myself, I don't feel like that's the way that I personally want to live. I feel that there's a part of life that I still haven't experienced, even at, what, I'm already an unk now, as they say, right? I'm 27, but I feel that my life is still just beginning as well, and I feel that I don't want to limit myself because of this type of social stigma that I have, where it's hard for me to talk to people and things. And this is where this YouTube channel comes in, where I kind of shed my fear of talking to other people, because in general in life I haven't had the opportunity to go out, even though we all have free will to do things. I don't go out to bars, like crazy, right? I mean, I do go once in a while, but it's very hard after college. Like, I'm not just saying just bars, but it's very hard to find connections after college so easy, because in college everyone's trying to connect and it's a lot easier to socialize. And I feel that I kind of threw that away, that whole opportunity of being able to socialize in an easy environment, because, like I said, I was becoming aware of this limitation that I had. But it just started, when I was leaving high school and entering college. And so, to get back to my story, when I was a freshman, I got my first job working as a tutor assistant type of thing at elementary schools, through a program called Teaching Fellows. And here in this area, I guess it's very well known. Every elementary, middle, high school, I guess, has this, they're affiliated with this program called Teaching Fellows. And so I joined this thing, kind of, I guess I kind of needed the money, right? I was broke and I needed to buy shoes and clothes and stuff. And I came from very low income. I was not able to afford not even the mediocre clothes from like the mall or anything. So I wanted money, right? That was the primary thing. But then also, as a secondary effect, this job was, you have to be kind of more of a social person, right, to be able to deal with the children after work. You kind of had to be outspoken and be a little more social than the person who I was. So I guess in a way, subconscious or without even thinking about it, this kind of was a first step into opening myself up to the person that I kind of want to be. And so apparently this place offered life coaching, and I never knew what life coaching was, and when they mentioned life coaching, I was totally open to try something like this. And I've never done something like this before. Life coaching, what the heck is that? But it really interested me, so I did sign up. And I wasn't in there for very long. I think the whole job, I wasn't really in the whole job for a very long time. I think in total I was in that teaching fellows job for about 3 months. But during those 3 months, I did end up having the opportunity to sign up for this life coaching class. And it was very interesting, this life coaching class. To begin, the coach, he was a retired police officer, and I guess he was a police officer in the area. And I don't know his exact life story, but he was very open about some mistakes that he had committed in the past. And I guess it was his catalyst to becoming a life coach, I suppose. So he was a police officer who had several complaints against him for abuse of power. And from there, he was supposedly sued, or he was taken to court for abuse or police violence, in something along those lines. And I guess he was able to realize his mistakes, and he used that as a catalyst to start this life coaching business. And that's kind of how he built his brand, or that's where he built his brand around kind of being a bad person, realizing that his flaws, and I guess he was using that to build this brand to help other people. And he seemed like a cool guy. And so I kind of explained to him my problem when it came to speaking to other people in public. And he made up this plan. It was kind of funny because we ended up meeting at a Starbucks, and I told him my problem, and his solution was to speak to, I think it was speaking to 5 or 10 people in public, getting their names, and getting their either phone number or email. And looking back on it now, it's kind of crazy, because I honestly, before that, if somebody didn't tell me, I would not have thought about doing this. But this guy felt that this was the appropriate treatment for what I had. The social being afraid of speaking in public. And it was funny because I really did force myself to get myself out there. And I've never heard of anybody else doing this. And this is the only time I've ever experienced something like this, where I forced myself to go and speak to, and I think at the time it was mostly like women, because I was afraid of talking to girls, I guess. And it's because of this sheltered life that I had when I was a kid. I never spoke. I had very limited interactions with anybody. It was just me, my sister when I was growing up, and my mom and my dad, and very, very limited interactions. At school, I was very shy, very to myself, right, emotionally and verbally and all that stuff. So I needed to push myself outside of my comfort zone, as they say, right? And sometimes that's the only way to grow and expand. And so whether or not this was, I don't know, the right solution, it did something, right? It did something to at least get myself out there and start speaking to people that I didn't know. And I think maybe that was the right solution, because I think deep down I was probably afraid of other people. I was afraid of other people, and the bottom line was that I needed to get over that fear of people, right? And so what's the best remedy other than going and meeting new people, right? And so that's what I did. And I think it was once a week. I was supposed to meet up. So it was a weekly meeting with this life coach. And I think for the next 2 months, he told me to get a notebook, write down everybody that I met. And I think I was supposed to meet, I don't know, I don't remember, it was 10 or 20 people throughout the week. But I don't think it was 10 per day. That would have been too much. So it was either 10 or 20 people for the week. I was supposed to write 10 or people's names and email or phone number. And I was very surprised that this was my first time actually interacting with people that honestly were strangers, and I didn't know these people. And I know I was probably being annoying. I would go to the stores. Sometimes I would either go to like a Target or a Walmart, or sometimes there was a Whole Foods nearby where I would go to. And I realized I probably was kind of annoying. Like, who wants to talk to this person, right? Who you don't know, who just approaches you. A lot of times, even myself, I'm like, oh, what does this guy want to sell me now? But I mean, I'm glad that I ended up doing this, and I don't care if I was annoying because it helped me out, right? And it didn't take that much time. It was like maybe 1 minute or 2 minutes per person, and that's it, right? And through this exercise, I was able to, little by little, shed the fear that I had for speaking to other people. And, well, I don't remember the exact first person that I spoke to. I do remember the feeling that I had because it was such a scary experience. And once you go through that experience a few times, it doesn't get so bad. For me, maybe the normal person's anxiety level, say this is, super anxiety, super scared, for a normal person. And this is like, super calm, I guess, super chill, and maybe most people are like in the middle. I probably was at a baseline closer to the super anxiety for my whole life. And so for that reason, I could never talk to people. But the more that I pushed my anxiety level up and up, I feel that the closer I got to the normal baseline that a person has. And however, I still need to work on it. I still have this little bit of anxiety somewhere where I'm trying, when I speak to somebody new, I have this panic attack almost. And it's like I'm at a loss for words, and I hate that freaking feeling, But anyways, back to that story of when I was talking to those random people in the stores. I feel that it really did help me out. I ended up filling out maybe 2 little thin notebooks of people's names and stuff, and it got to the point where I did feel a little nervous before speaking to people, and kind of like, oh, what's the point of this thing, but there was definitely a point. And I feel that I benefited a lot from that type of exercise. And honestly, I recommend it to people. You don't need to have a life coach to do this. Honestly, if I had had the insight to do this, I could have probably come up to that conclusion myself. But having the life coach did help me at least put that idea into my head, right? And I'm grateful for the life coach, and I'm glad that I ended up doing that whole exercise, even though it was only for about a couple of months, until I ended up, once I quit the job, I had to stop doing the life coaching. But it was an experience, honestly, out of out of 99% of whatever I did in college, you know, this I don't remember most of my college experience was kind of forgettable. I mean, a lot of it was homework and classes, but this experience with the life coach and going up to speak to new people honestly is probably part of that 2% that I truly remember, and what truly changed my life. I mean, getting the college degree in engineering honestly was an enormous feat, but I also feel that being able to change myself in a social way is also going to help me, enormously throughout my life. Because yeah, getting a degree will get you somewhere, will, make you technically qualified for positions, right? But being able to sell yourself and being able to work your way in these social, this whole social network that the society is built upon, you're not going to get anywhere if you can't function in a social way. So for me, and I saw my father, he being an antisocial person as he was, that was absolutely detrimental to his life. And so for me, it's, getting the degree was priority number one, but being able to function in a social way is almost equivalent to that. Or maybe I'm wrong. Maybe the degree wasn't number one priority. Maybe the number one priority should have been to be able to expand and to get this experience in a social way, or in the social department or whatever of my brain. Because yeah, you can have all the degrees that you want, but if you can't express your feelings or emotions or your thoughts, what good is that degree or career, worth? Like, I feel like I would still be miserable. Like, I need to be able to express myself, to have the life that I want, right? And I feel like a lot of people make that mistake of not expressing themselves and putting themselves into a position where or in getting themselves into a life that they don't want, all because they don't express their feelings, they don't express what they want, they don't express things that they should really be expressing. And that that amount of I would say it's low emotional intelligence. And what I want to do is to improve my social intelligence, right? My emotional intelligence, social experience, right? And I feel, because that's a part of being a human, right? We are a social species, and I don't want to live a life in isolation, I feel like a life in isolation. I mean, I guess it could be peaceful. I mean, I'm okay with being alone, but there's a difference between being alone and being socially kind of backwards. And I don't want to be socially backwards. I want to be able to experience life to the fullest, right? The way that life was intended to be lived. And if I am not able to express my emotions in a way that other people can understand them, I feel that I'm losing out on half of the experiences of life that life has to offer. And I don't want to live life in that way. And I just really feel that there's so much that life has to offer, and that we just have to go out there and take it, right? Because I didn't have to do this video. I didn't feel like doing this video. I had my coffee. I could have done something else. I'm feeling kind of sick right now. But I feel that there's more to life than just being a stick in the mud, right? I feel that each one of us has the potential to change the world, right? And it all just starts with one simple step. One simple step, because there is no one way to live life. And I am on a mission to change my perspective on life. I love who I am. I don't want to change who I am, because who I am is the reason why I'm doing this, right? And I think that, honestly, when I first started to see the flaws of myself is when I started to love myself. And yes, to change a problem, to be able to fix something within you, you have to acknowledge the problem. But I think even acknowledging the problem comes from first loving yourself and accepting that you have flaws. And once you accept you have flaws, you are able to see those flaws within yourself, right? And so I love myself. And because I love myself, I want to be the best person that I can be. And I think the biggest obstacle in my life right now is the obstacle of social interactions and just being able to express myself. Because even now I have trouble. I have trouble being able to say what I want. I have trouble being able to just to kind of being assertive, right? I kind of want to be assertive, but I don't know what I'm saying right now. But I think that making this video is the best way, the first step in making a meaningful change in my life. And I feel like I've done so much, but there's so much more work that I can do towards changing myself to have a better life. And I feel that this doesn't apply to just my life, it applies to everyone's life, because I feel like a lot of times we go through life and we say, oh, it is what it is. But a lot of times, there's things that you can change. I feel like maybe there's this 5% of life that you can't change, that it's out of your control. But there's, our perception is that a lot of things are out of our control or out of our hands. When in reality, I feel like maybe 97% of what we see is within our control, but we just refuse to see that. Yeah, maybe that full 95%, maybe there's 30% that it's easily low-hanging fruit that we can change, right? And maybe the rest of that, 60% is you're able to change in your life, but it requires some work. And I feel that is, that 60% that requires work is the step that most people don't take to bring their life from here to the next level, right? And I just want to explore that, right? So I feel that everybody has the power. If I am recording this video, it means that you can record a video. I am a licensed engineer in the state of California. If I can do that, I am not smart. I am kind of dumb. I feel I'm kind of dumb. Like, living life for the first time, I feel like all the stuff that I have done, anybody can do. But I just see so many people becoming criminals, or so many people falling into debt, so many people just taking the wrong decisions, and I just don't see why. It's so easy. Like, everything I have done is achievable, to anybody that tries, and I just don't see why. It's just, I feel that anybody can change if they want to change, okay? That's my point. And I feel like I have talked too much already, so I will say goodbye. And the last thing that I want to say is to let the adventure begin. And have a great day. Have a good night wherever you are. Peace out, okay?